Hello everyone and welcome to the Shiny Things channel. About a week ago I received my Pagani Design watch, reference number 1639, and I did a quick video about unboxing it. And then I decided to take at least a few days to get myself familiar with the watch. And boy, I have to say I'm glad I did, because there were a few things that were not particularly obvious at the time of unboxing. So, let's roll the intro. For the sake of completeness, just in case you didn't see the first video, I will leave the link to that video in the description below. The watch comes in this quite simple but functional box. It also came with international guarantee card and a little user manual. There were also included this polish cloth and of course the watch. Okay, so let's get the basic information out of the way first. The watch measures 43 millimeters in diameter, 21 millimeter lug width. It is 13 millimeters high, which makes it fairly slender. Lug to lug measurement is about 51.5 millimeters. These distances, of course, in reality is slightly larger due to the protruding end links. So we have a case of very flat mineral crystal here, mineral glass crystal here with the cyclop. Cyclop magnification is okay. It's not wow, but I think it is okay. Makes the date readable, and it also fairly well aligned between the cyclop and the date window. Dial in my opinion on this watch executed quite well. Everything aligns, the chaptering and the applied indices. The applied indices framed in what appears to be a stainless steel surroundings, and I think they look quite elegant. The indices also have this kind of white creamy color. The dial itself is piano black. It does have a slight reflective property, so you can see it reflects the hands as they go around, ticking around the dial. And it's not, the reflection is not very intrusive, and it actually adds a certain level of depth to the look of the watch, and again I think it works quite well. What else can we say about the dial? Of course there is lume. Now lume is executed in the right blue color, similar to how it is on the Rolex Submariner. However, the lume itself here is not very bright and doesn't last very long, which is a shame because otherwise it's quite a good all-rounder watch. We have 90-click unidirectional bezel. I'm not quite sure about the material of the bezel. I couldn't find any information on the sites or AliExpress descriptions or the actual official store of Pagani watch. Now, the bezel action is pretty good for the price. Also, there is surprisingly very little backplay, and there is still some backplay, of course, but not as much, for example, compared to another Pagani watch I reviewed, I think reference 1617. That watch had that bezel had much bigger backplay. Also, I think the good news is that pretty much everything aligns. You're really going to be hard pressed to find any misalignments between bezel and the chaptering and the indices, which again I think is pretty good. Case. So as you can see, we've got mirror polish on both sides and around crown guards here. We've got nice brushing on top of the case. no sharp edges between the surfaces. Definitely an attempt to some level of refinement, which is nice. We have screw down crown, quite an easy and satisfying crown action as well, thanks to the internal to the Miyota movement, which is incorporated in this watch. Comparing to generic 2813, I think that's a reference number, 2813 Asian movement, or even to Seagull ST6 movement, which is quite common in some automatic Pagani watches. This particular crown action is definitely much smoother. So looking at the back case, yeah, we can see that there is a deviation from Rolex Homage theme here with the exhibition back case. Miyota movement isn't exactly the prettiest movement to look at. However, well, they decided to do it. It gives watch a bit of a, I don't know, exotic look, if you like. Also, somehow the actual case back, as you can see, is fairly flat, which adds to the lower profile of this watch, allowing it to sit on the wrist quite low. Bracelet. We have solid end links, and we've got quite well executed solid links in the bracelet as well. We've got screws, not pins, as you can see. I'll show you the other side of it. I've already adjusted this bracelet for my just over 7-inch wrist, and those screws, not pins, like I said, and that's quite nice for the price. However, a word of caution, these lovely screws are not always tight when they come out from the manufacturer, so I would strongly recommend to double check if they're all screwed in nicely and snugly before wearing this watch outside. Otherwise, losing one of those little screws could be quite a frustrating experience. Looking at the clasp, it's quite a high quality, I would say, clasp execution. As you can see, it's milled clasp. Clasp action is pretty good. Also, the clasp rather mimics the Rolex Explorer 2 clasp with so-called Easy Link style adjustment. I think that's how it's called, rather than a glide lock. If it's called something different, guys, please correct me. So I'll show you how it operates. So basically you just undo it right so, and it gives you those extra 5 millimeters of sort of on-the-fly adjustment if you come in from you know, outside, or you know, change of temperature and your wrist expands or contracts for whatever reason, which does happen. So yeah, there you've got your extra, you know, couple of millimeters, I think about 5, and otherwise you can just nicely put it back in there. There we go. Also, if, I don't know, on the certain lights you can probably see there is extra adjustments inside the clasp, additional macro adjustments, which allows you to get a bit more flexibility if you want to adjust your clasp a little more accurately. As you can see, those little kind of indents there. Let me see if I can get the right light there. Yeah, so you can move this. Obviously you can't do this on the fly, but still you've got that level of flexibility. What are the interesting features of this watch? Well, for one, I think the 100 meter or 10 bar water resistance rating of this watch is very much welcome on my part. So you can actually now comfortably go and swim in this watch, which does aspire to be a diving watch and has a screw down crown. Now, a word of caution though, before you do that, just make sure, the same as with screws in the bracelet, make sure that the back case is tied properly and there is a seal, which I think there is. I've seen some reviews on forums that it's all good. However, I am not so trusting of Pagani Design QC department. Now, this is all good. So what are the reservations or any negatives that I've got about this watch that I haven't mentioned yet? Well, I guess we need to address a little, or maybe not so little, elephant in the room. Technically, for a watch to qualify as a Submariner Homage, it needs to be a classic 40mm diameter with 20mm lugs, and this watch is not. Not all is lost though, because Rolex does have a watch that is more suitable as a homage inspiration for this Pagani Design watch, and I'm referring to Rolex Sea Dweller reference 12668. That watch is 43mm diameter and it has 22mm lugs and a similar slim profile. It is a good looking watch too, in my opinion. However, you've got those extra lugs lengths to deal with on a 43mm case, and it might not be to everyone's taste. It is still okay on my just over 7-inch wrist, and I'll put the shots a bit later, but like I said, some people might find it sitting a little bit too big. So, in conclusion, I decided I'm gonna keep this watch in my collection. The only thing that I would like to see improved on this watch is, of course, the lume. I wouldn't mind to pay extra $10–15 for extra few layers of lume. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I like the markings on the dial, I like the quality of the bracelet on this watch, and strangely enough, I even kind of grew to like the 43mm diameter size of it, which is reminiscent of the Sea Dweller 1266800. So this is the full review of this Pagani watch. I hope you enjoyed it and find it useful. If you want to see more reviews like this, please subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.